So I just kept applying for jobs with various companies, and then I finally caught a break after about a year of applying. So,
Wow.
yeah.
So it took you about a year to finally break in. Hey guys, ECRG here. I'd like to welcome you to the first ever episode of, I don't even know what we're going to call this thing, but probably the ECRG interview series or Elite Clinical Research interview series. We'll go with that. So, welcome to the first episode. Today, I have with me a very special guest. She's actually a clinical research associate and works for a very large CRO. And she's been in clinical research for a few years now, but I'll have her tell her a little bit more about herself. And her name is Shalonda. So, welcome, Shalonda.
Thank you.
Um, so, first off, we want to talk about the first question I want to ask you is how did you get your start in clinical research? There are a lot of people that watch this channel and who's going to be watching this content who are trying to get into the clinical research field. A lot of people want to be CRAs. So if you could just share a little bit about how you found out about clinical research, maybe how you ended up getting into clinical research, and we'll just start there.
Okay. So I found out about clinical research, I think it was around my junior year of college. So I was pre-med in college, but then I decided I didn't want to do that anymore. So they have a career center at the school I went to. And I was reviewing a couple of jobs with the career center, and they introduced the field of clinical research to me. And so then I did my own like research, I guess, of the different entry level roles, and I reached out to some alumni that I knew worked in the field. So they gave me a few pointers as far as like I guess things I need to include on my resume, but they let me know that it's tough to get into the field. So I just kept applying for jobs with various companies, and then I finally caught a break after about a year of applying. So
Wow.
yeah.
So it took you about a year to finally break in. Do you know how many jobs you applied to during that span?
Um, I would say I probably applied to like seven or eight, I think.
Only 7 or 8?
Only seven or eight, just because I knew, like, for some of the positions I saw, it wasn't entry level; it was like level two. So I knew, I wouldn't get considered for that because I was, a recent college graduate. So I
Right.
tried to apply for the CTA positions, like the drug safety officer positions. And I did apply for CRA positions, but I just like did that just to so the company would have my resume on file
For
type thing.
sure.
But
That's
yeah.
that's a pretty good strategy to just
Hmm.
apply for whatever you can because a lot of times they'll say, you know what, you're not qualified for this position, but we have this other position coming out that you are qualified for.
Yeah.
So you mentioned CTA. A lot of people may not know the acronyms that we talk about.
Uh,
So what exactly is a CTA? If you could expand on that.
a CTA, clinical trial assistant, um, or associate. I guess it depends on the company, like
Right.
what the A stands for. But
Right.
I they do more of like the in-house tasks when it comes to clinical research. They may, reach out to the site and have scheduled contacts with them, or they may, be in charge of uploading documents to the company's clinical trial management systems. Just a lot more of the like administrative in-house tasks.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. And would you say that's a pretty good entry point to the industry for people looking to get in?
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Okay. So you applied to your jobs, you finally broke into the industry after a year or so. And
Hmm.
what position did you end up getting? What position was that?
So I was a clinical monitoring associate, which is also like an in-house position.
Uh-huh.
We more so we were like I wouldn't say we were the first point of contact for the site, but we were the main point of contact for the site because we worked hand in hand with the CRAs. So each site had a CRA and a CMA.
Mm-hmm.
And because the CRAs travel, the CMA would be more accessible when it comes to just like various protocol questions or if the site needed supplies or anything like that, to contact the CMA. And then the CMA would um, have routine contacts with the site just to, keep up with the status of the patients and make sure everything was going okay and that the site didn't have questions about the protocol or anything like that. So,
Okay, excellent.
yeah.
So you got in as a CMA. Now, not every company calls it that. So I mean, other people would call it maybe in-house CRA. That's probably the standard term there for that position, right?
Yeah.
And you did that position for how long?
I did that position for a year and 4 months. And
Okay.
then I moved to the CRA position.
Okay. All with the same company, right?
Yes.
Okay. And so which position do you like better?
I like the CRA role better. Just because, I mean, I know as a CMA, like you do have contact with the site, but the CRA, you can actually put, the face to the name. And it's more hands-on when it comes to protocol in the study. So
Yeah.
I like that aspect of it better. And the travel, of course, it's cool, depending on where you have to go. So,
Right. Now that's
yeah.
interesting you mentioned the hands-on part because there was someone who reached out to me yesterday who was interested in clinical research, but they didn't want the standard, sit at your desk all day job. They wanted something a little bit more hands-on. So it's interesting you mentioned that part. Do you feel like there's a big difference in terms of, as far as the daily workflow goes between the CRA and CMA and the hands-on aspect?
Yes. So the biggest difference is that, well, for me, is that you're actually going to the site. You're actually, you get to see the drug for the project that you're on. You get to talk to the PI in person. You get to talk to the study coordinator in person. You actually are reviewing the patient's electronic medical charts.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so all of that, is that hands-on aspect. Like you're actually seeing everything.
Right.
We don't, of course, we aren't in contact with the patients at all, but we do have access to their records and all of that. So,
Okay. Excellent. So, in what year was this that you first got into clinical research? I want to put that into context because I know over the years the industry goes ups and down, ups and downs. Sometimes it seems like there's way too many positions to even be filled, and then other times it seems like there's a drawback. And I'm of the belief that there was a somewhat of a drawback in 2017. So if you could just say
mhm.
what year was this that you
Yeah.
first got into?
So I got hired in the winter of 2014, and I started January 2015
Okay.
as a clinical monitoring associate. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So that's good. And so now you're a CRA.
hmm
What do you think is next for you? Do you think? I mean, I know a lot of people. They're CRA. There's some people that are CRAs for like 20 years or so, and they just because they just love the role that much. Other people kind of want to, get off the road and become either go back to in-house CRAs or CTLs or lead CRAs. What do you think is next for you?
Um, so next after, well, I know I want to stay a CRA for a few more years, of course. So a lead CRA role would be ideal for me, I guess, in a few years.
Mm-hmm.
But after lead CRA, I would like to transition to the clinical operations leader role.
Mm-hmm.
Um, they're still kind of site facing, but more so client facing. They take on responsibilities for the assigned countries or regions, and they basically like coordinate team members with activities to ensure that the deliverables are met. So they're kind of like a manager for
Right.
the project, I guess.
Right.
Um, and then after that, I would like to move on to the project leader role, which is more of the overall project management aspect where they deal with the financials and everything of that. And it's more client facing. So they do more work with the sponsor than the site. So,
Right.
yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a key distinction there because I first got my start on the project management side of things, and I didn't really have much contact with the sites at all. It was all sponsor facing. So I think that's interesting if people want to get their start on that side as well. But then there's the whole
Yeah.
like clinical operations side, like you said, which is site facing, where they don't have as much contact with the sponsor. So
Hmm.
there's definitely pros and cons to every entry point.
Yeah.
But what do you think? What positions do you feel like are great for people to get into clinical research? Like, I guess if you could have done it over again, would you have chosen a different position?
No, I still would have tried to do like the in-house CRA position, or like the clinical trial associate, or I did apply for a drug safety associate position,
Hmm.
but I think that would be more so with the data management
Hmm.
aspect of it.
Hmm.
But it's hard to like start off as a CRA if you're not, if you weren't previously like a study coordinator or a nurse, like a research nurse.
Right.
So I would have tried to do more of an in-house role. I
Right.
think that's a good way to start.
Yeah, I would agree. That's probably the best way.
Hmm.
If you could really say one is better than the other, that's probably the best way to get your start. Um, and then, what other positions are there that people could apply for? Because, people think CRA, that's all they hear in the news and stuff, and they think they can just come from any industry, no matter the experience level, no matter the education level, and just be a CRA straight up. And they hear about all of the demand for CRAs because the demand has been there for a long time now.
Hmm.
Every company is pretty much hiring CRAs at all times. So, um, what would you say are some of the other positions that people could get in on?
If they, let me see. So again, like the clinical monitoring associate, the CMA position, if they see anything for a CTS or CTA, clinical trial specialist or clinical trial assistant. Um, Project specialist may be a good route to go.
Mm-hmm.
I know that's not, more site facing, but they will get clinical research experience. So
Right.
I think that'll be good as well. Let me see. I can't think of the specific names, but the positions they work with, like the data management, um, I think that would be good as well.
Like a
Because
clinical data associate or something.
yes, hmm
Yeah,
yeah, that'll be
I
clinical
agree.
data analyst, the name, something like that.
So here's a situation that a lot of people I know who've reached out to us at eliteclinicalgroup@gmail.com. Soft plug there.
Hmm.
Um, a lot of times they email and say and they talk about how they've been offered a position in clinical research, but it's usually maybe it doesn't pay very well. It's a contractor position. It's only for a few months. Should they take it or should they hold out for a better position? What would you say to that person?
Um, I think every situation, I guess, is different. Um, I mean, I wouldn't take a short contract job, but that's just me because I need financial stability.
Uh huh.
So I wouldn't do that. But I mean, if they really, want to have that experience on their resume and they're able to, figure out something else after that, for after that contract is over, I don't think it would be such a bad idea to accept that position.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and there are always, contract positions all the time
Yep.
that are open. I see inquiries all the time about contract positions. So
Yeah, for
yeah.
sure. There's definitely more now. Uh, well, I mean, a lot of companies always try and get you to get their foot in the door. I know IQVIA
Hmm.
does that. They'll start out with like a 6 month contract and either extend you or bring you on full time. I actually got my start as a contractor as well. Um, and I know that for people that are listening who are worried about that, the job market completely changes after you even get like 3 to 6 months of experience. So I noticed
Right.
I was getting way more callbacks just with those 3 months of experience rather than having no experience. Like it was completely different. So that's
Hmm.
something to think about as well.
Yeah, I agree.
All right, good. Glad we agree there. um, so so would you ever be like a contract research associate? I mean, a contract clinical research associate? I know that may be harder because you don't have the stability of working for the big CRO. You're kind of working for yourself. Could you
Hmm.
comment on that a little bit?
I actually thought about doing it after I get a little more experience.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I mean, it's always good to work for yourself. And I know, even though like the contract is usually for like a few months, like maybe, like you said, 3 to 6 months, or sometimes it may be for a year, they do get paid more.
For
So,
sure.
yeah, I've, I've definitely thought about that. I wouldn't say that I would never do it, but I think more than likely I'll probably do it in the future, just not right now because I want to gain more experience before I do that.
Yeah, I feel like most of those contractors have like years and years of experience anyway.
Hmm.
So if you're
Yeah,
competing with them for a gig, it's probably gonna be pretty tough to
right,
get unless you've got a lot of experience yourself.
right.
But I know in 2017, when I was looking at the market, I didn't see many contract clinical research positions open. I mean, I had to like really, really dig for them if I was looking for them. But now I see people posting on LinkedIn for them. I've even seen contract project management positions open up. So that's
Wow.
yeah. I've seen contract data management. I've seen contract almost anything. I even see a contract in-house CRA position. Um, so that's one way you can really like look at the market and see what the job market's like. Because in 2017, I didn't see any of that. Just casually looking around. Um, all right. So you're a CRA now.
Mhm.
What do you like most about the position? Like what are some things you like?
Um, I like a lot of things. Actually, I think just overall clinical research is just like a big ball of learning experience.
Hmm.
I'm the type of person like I love to learn new things. I love a good challenge. And with the field, especially with the CRA role, like you get that almost daily. And it's always something different every day. Like maybe the site doesn't have the supplies and the subject is coming in for a visit in a few days and they need like an expedited order, or they have questions about the protocol where they don't really understand. Like, if it seems ambiguous to them, you may have to explain it, or, a subject had to have an emergency room visit and they want to know if it's an adverse event or a serious adverse event, or it's just, anything can happen. So, each day is kind of like putting out small fires, and you learn a lot doing that. Like you gain experience from having different issues at the different sites, so that you'll know moving forward, like what to do if that situation comes up again. So I like that aspect of it. And then when you're assigned to a project team, of course you have to do training, and that training includes like in-depth presentations about the indication, the different treatments for the indication,
Hmm.
for the project that you're working on, how the drug works, and all of that is interesting to me. As I said, I was pre-med in college,
Right.
and I've always, loved to learn about the health field. So that's another thing that I like. Um, because you learn about health issues and diseases that you probably wouldn't even thought of, like,
Right.
if you weren't working on that project. You get to meet a lot of people as a CRA because you travel a lot. Well, depending on the company, you may or may not travel as much, but I know, I some of the places I go, I choose to stay in the same hotels, and I see the same, people that work at the hotel all the time.
Hmm.
So yeah, you make new friends, and of course, traveling is always cool.
Hmm.
We keep the points from the airlines and the rental cars and the hotel points, so
Hmm.
that's always a plus as well.
Hmm.
Oh yeah, it's a lot of things.
So let's see. You've been traveling since 2015, right?
2016.
2016. So about 2 years. Um,
Hmm.
how has that been? Has it been tiring for you at times? Is it stressful at times? Is it tough
Um,
juggling that with a full time job? Or I mean, I know it comes with the job, but you know what I'm saying.
Yeah. So it was it has its some moments have like, challenges. So I was assigned to I think three different projects at one point. And even though like the traveling frequency for those projects differed, sometimes they will overlap. So
Hmm.
it will always be like, every few months I was like traveling a lot because the frequency overlapped. But other than that, I was always prepared because I always, try to plan ahead of time. So I knew like which month I would be heavy traveling versus the other where it's, not so heavy. Um, so I think that I guess is like the biggest thing. But other than that, it's been pretty cool. Like I haven't, been tired out.
Not
And
yet.
I have intervals, I guess, where I'm not traveling at all. Like, like around the Christmas holiday, things, die down
Right.
everywhere.
Right. It's
So,
lovely. It's lovely during that time.
yeah, yeah.
So, exactly how much do you travel? Because I've said this number before, and people still don't believe me. What did you say? You could say the percentage, and then say about how many times per week that really comes out to, or how many times per month that really shakes out to.
Um, I would say like 75%,
Okay.
around that much. But our company recently like changed its model, so they're trying to um, they like changed the frequency of how much we travel. So it's went down a little bit, but I would say like once or twice a week.
Okay.
I'm traveling, yeah,
Okay.
and it's not like a set like every week I'm traveling. Once or twice. Of course, sometimes I don't go anywhere the whole week. It just depends on your project and the monitoring frequency for your project. Because I
Okay.
know some people that go to the same places like every 2 weeks. So,
Okay. Yeah. Right. Right. Right.
hmm
Definitely. Definitely relies on that interval there.
yeah.
And so, what's the most you've traveled?
The most I've traveled,
Yeah, because I
um,
imagine you've had different projects over the course of the 2 years.
yeah.
Yeah, what's the
So
most you've traveled?
I think, let me see. Um, it was like mid August to September of 2016.
Okay.
Um, I was probably home like literally just on the weekends. Like, Um, I mean, of course, like say I had a visit on Monday, I travel out Sunday and I come back Monday night, but I have another visit on Wednesday. So I'm literally home Monday night, Tuesday half the day, and I'm flying out again to the next place. So I was doing that um, like mid to late August and all of September in 2016. But I had just so I was doing termination visits for one of my studies, but I was also doing monitoring visits for the same study.
Mm-hmm.
And then I had just been assigned a new study, and uh, they had to pay a penalty if the monitoring visits weren't done within the allotted time frame.
Right.
Like the company had to pay a penalty to the sponsor.
Mm-hmm.
So I had to like fit those visits in.
Okay.
Yeah. And they
Wow.
were already planned by the previous monitor. So it's like I couldn't really,
Right. So
replan it.
so that's pretty much like 100% travel during that time.
Yeah, for let's say like 90%.
90%.
90%, yeah. But I mean it doesn't always happen like that at all.
Right. So it seems like in a normal case you can pretty much spread it out to however you
Mhm.
want it. Can you
Yeah.
also like jam pack it in? So like maybe like the first 2 weeks you're traveling a lot, then the last 2 weeks you're not traveling so much.
Yeah, it's all up to you. You make your own schedule. You talk to the site about their availability and match it with yours and you pick. So we don't have someone um, that's well for the company I work for. We don't have someone that makes our travel arrangements like and schedules the visits with the site. We do all that ourselves.
Mm-hmm. All right, excellent. Um, so we talked about that CRA stuff. One of the videos I have on the channel is it talks about a few reasons why millennials would be attracted, particularly to the CRA role. Do you think there's anything like specific about the millennial like character that would attract them to the CRA role? Because I feel like it's becoming more and more competitive to get to that role,
Hmm.
and there might be a reason for that. Do you have any thoughts on that? Something millennials?
Um, I don't know. I can't. I mean, I guess it's kind of like the freedom of the job. Like
Mm-hmm.
for me, like I work from home, and I travel for work, and we pretty much like make our own schedule. So I think just that aspect of it. So is, I mean, even though you're working for a company, like you're doing everything, like, yourself. Um, so I guess that,
Yeah, the
is
freedom has to be huge.
yeah. And especially the work from home, because I know a lot of people, that's becoming more and more popular, like decentralized positions, so,
Right,
or remote positions.
right.
Oh yeah,
I think clinical research in general is pretty good for having the ability to work from home or having remote
hmm,
positions.
yeah,
I mean, when I was a project specialist, the first my manager was completely home based, and she didn't even live in the same country as me. She lived in Canada, and a lot of the team members I was working with were all home based as well. I was pretty much the
yeah,
only one coming into the office, which sucked, but you know, you got to pay your dues, I guess.
yeah,
So yeah, I mean, in that video, I talked about how like the freedom, like you said, I think that's going to be huge as
hmm,
millennials, you know, uh, grow into becoming into more positions of power and making the rules and structuring how these companies operate. I think that could be something key that other people could learn from is how to give people under them more freedom to do the work that they like to do. And I'm sure that that feels good, being able to like go around the country and like set your own schedule and like work from home and like kind of do your thing
yeah,
without too many checks and balances.
yeah. It's awesome. I love it.
Yeah. All right, cool. And um so we talked about that. What do you think you'd be doing right now if it wasn't clinical research?
Um, I would most definitely probably be working with kids in some capacity. Probably for like a nonprofit organization in the public health field.
Uh-huh.
Um, I was working with kids, as a part time, before I started in clinical research, and during, my first position as a CMA, I was still working part time, within a program at the YMCA.
Mm-hmm.
I was working with kids, so that's probably what I would be doing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome. And all right, so I have two last questions as we wrap up here. One is I know there's a lot of talk about AI and robots
Mhm.
coming to take your jobs. Do you have any fear of robots coming to take your job as a CRA?
Um, that's a great question. Um, no, I don't think I do. Of course, there are, a lot of technology, excuse me, technology, I can't even say the word, advances being
Yes.
created over time. Decreases the amount of work that we have to do, and it makes our jobs easier. But just from my experience in the field, I'm not too worried about it. I mean, I guess it'll make it easier as a CRA because we may be able to do more work remotely. But as we know, like technology isn't 100% reliable. And I will say that, um, I don't know. I don't think it'll be, too much of a change from what has already, came about, like as far as making it easier so we won't have to visit the site as much. But you still have to, count in the human factor of things. Like, I, we don't have access to the site's records. So that's why we have to go there. Like, because of, HIPAA laws and everything like that. Like, they aren't really allowed to like send off the um, the patient's records and things like that to someone who isn't like working in that institution. And
Right.
I know they have like confidentiality agreements and everything like that, but um, it's better to actually send someone there. And then you have to like, factor in drug accountability. Like, of course, the site can record a number and say, like, say if the drug was for pills, like, of course, the site can record a number and say, the patient returned 4 pills back. But if you don't have someone going there and like checking that, like, how can you know that it's actually true? Like,
Right.
so certain things like, you have to kind of factor in, unless I guess we can find a way to put a camera at the site so we can do
Right.
everything. I don't know, but
Right.
yeah.
Okay. Cool. Yeah, I'm not too worried about it right now. Maybe we'll have to reassess in like 5 to 10 years because
Yeah.
technology just moves so fast and disruption happens just so fast. So
Right.
maybe in 5 years I'll ask you that same question and you'll have a different answer.
Yeah. I'm not too worried about it though.
All right, well, that's good. So if anyone is looking at getting into clinical research, I guess now's a good time if you're afraid of the robots coming to take your job because it's not going to
Right.
happen, according to Shalonda. So here's the last question, and I completely stole this question from someone else. They ask at the end of their interviews, like, what are you obsessed with right now? And it could be anything. It could be clinical research related. It could be, you know, just like a movie that came out, like Black Panther, or like it could be like anything. Like, what are you obsessed with right now?
So right now, I've been watching the originals. I don't know if you're familiar with that show, but
No,
it's about vampires on Netflix, and I love that show.
it's about the
So
what?
it's about vampires, like
Uh,
the first family of vampires that ever existed, and they're immortal, and yeah, it's a cool show.
it's
If
brand
you,
new.
no, I don't think it's new, but
Mm,
it's a spinoff from the Vampire Diaries.
okay,
Um, so I kind of started watching the Vampire Diaries, but I couldn't really get into it. Um, so yeah, but I do like the originals.
does this
I
show
like that.
have action in it?
Oh yeah.
Okay,
I
it's
mean, not like GI Joe action, but
GI
it's
Joe.
like fights and stuff, and people die, and it's like vampires, werewolves, and witches. So
Oh,
it's cool.
okay.
Yeah.
All right, cool. All right. Well, thank you for that, Shalonda. Thank you so much for coming on the show. You are the first person, the first guest of the show. So I'm very glad that you were able to come on and share all this awesome information about your career in clinical research and being a CRA. Um, I'm not going to make you do this, but if you would like to, if people have any questions or further questions about anything you said in the show, where can people like reach out to you somewhere, or you can say no completely. It's completely cool. Or you could just say in the comments down below, and I can forward them to you. Um, it's up to you.
You can forward me any questions, and
Okay.
I guess you can. I'm sure you have my email address. If anyone has any like specific questions to me, you can give them my email address.
All right. Cool.
Yeah,
All
that's
right.
fine.
Cool. So leave your comments and questions down below. I'll forward them to Shalonda if any of you guys have any questions. And thank you so much again, Shalonda, for coming on. I appreciate it.
Well, thank you for inviting me, and I hope I was able to help anyone. Um, yeah.
For sure.